My ex-wife was diagnosed with dementia, specifically early onset Alzheimer's. Hey y'all, I'm Alex with Soulmates of Georgia. Today I'm not down at the farm. I am not in my garden, but I'm up in Roswell, Georgia at a trail called Big Creek where we do some mountain biking and trail running. I just finished my trail run, which is one of the places I like to get away kind of for an escape. And today's video is not going to be one of our normal videos. But as our channel grows, we wanted to share a little bit more of our personal lives and what's affecting us. Talk about kind of what's going on in our personal lives a little bit more. And today's a big one. So I've been trying to make this video probably for the last 7 months, maybe even 8 months since I really first started mulling it over. But it's a hard one to talk about. And like the title says, my ex-wife moved back in. My ex-wife's Heather. Y'all have seen her in some other videos. And so she was just diagnosed last year with dementia, specifically early onset Alzheimer's. She was diagnosed the day before she turned 48. And we're trying to figure everything out still. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of unknown by the doctors. But you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all, there are gonna be a lot of cuts in this video. Like I said, it's not easy to talk about. I'm walking around in a park where other people are here, so I usually stop recording when they're doing it, and I have some notes that I'm referring to because I wanted to cover as much as I could while I had my head on straight after my run. With early onset Alzheimer's, the symptoms can really vary from patient to patient. And with Heather's symptoms, hers is all verbal right now. She doesn't have the confusion that a lot of people get, especially older patients. And she knows where she is. She remembers everything in her past. She remembers short-term, long-term. But for her, it's all verbal. Oral, verbal, and written. All language skills. She has a hard time finding her words sometimes. And she has a hard time understanding instructions sometimes. Sometimes you talk to her and it's completely normal, like I'm talking to my best friend of the previous 20 years. And then other times, you know, you give some instructions, you make sure you give one step at a time. You can't give multiple steps. But she's still able to drive. She still pays her own bills. She still goes for long walks by herself. She's really active. One of the best things you can do for your mental health, brain and psychological health is exercise. So she's been really good about that. She goes for 2-3 hour walks by herself around the neighborhood. She knows where she is. So none of those problems you associate, that most people associate with Alzheimer's. But there are problems with the language skills, and that posed a problem for her. She's not employed anymore. She was a very successful marketing executive and lost her job when the company was changing directions and couldn't find another position. Because interviewing when you can't speak very well and you're a marketer and used to speaking in front of hundreds of people doesn't go over very well to the person doing the interview. I'm trying to answer some of the obvious questions and the frequent questions we get when we tell friends about her diagnosis. One of the ones that came up, one of our first questions was, what's this mean long term? And like I said, with early onset Alzheimer's, there are a lot of variables. The typical lifespan for somebody diagnosed with Alzheimer's is about 10 years. That can vary. I just had a friend's wife die after almost 25 years. She was diagnosed when she was 45-ish. She had symptoms for a while, but they had a hard time diagnosing it. We were able to get Heather diagnosed fairly quickly. One, because it's 25 years later, and we happened to have the right doctor really into it to get the diagnosis. One of the other questions we get fairly often is, how is Susie handling all this? Susie and I are great still. We're still dating. We still see each other as often as we can during the pandemic. We take breaks when we think one of us might have been exposed or somewhere we could have been exposed. But she and Heather, Susie and Heather, get along We were actually over at Susie's. Heather and I both went to Susie's house yesterday for a yard sale that the three of us did together. So we don't hang out a lot, but we can, and it's fine. And they get along, which makes it very easy on me, because it could be very different. And Susie's obviously a saint for wanting to stick around with me while my ex-wife has moved back into my house. She actually moved back in August. So we're coming up on 7 months now. And that's one of the reasons it's taken me so long to get this video done. I didn't know what I wanted to say. And I think I'm probably rambling a lot because I'm not sure what all I want to say, even with my notes. One of the biggest things was figuring out how to cope with it mentally. We had those, probably the first month of just crying and being sad about it, probably drinking more, sitting around and just moping about it. And then about a month after Heather's diagnosis, she was like, you know what? I'm tired of being negative. I'm tired of being sad. And it's like she just flipped a switch and said, I'm not going to be upset anymore. I'm going to be happy with the days I have left. And she did. She's had probably in the past year or past 10 months since she made that decision, has had maybe a couple of days she's cried in front of me. Other than that, she's been super positive, which is amazing. It's made it a lot easier on our son and me. But we have a 17-year-old son, so it made sense to have her move back in with us while he was still in high school. He has another year, a year and a half to go in high school, a year and a few months. So it made sense that he get this last year with her while she's still not confused and is still really herself for the most part. And so it's been good for them to get some extra time together that way, because he was living with me. I had majority custody, and he was living with me most of the time. But now they get to see each other every day, which is really important for her. Also, with her exercise, is to have a lot of social interaction. So we're helping her by talking to her every day, seeing her. We eat dinner together. She and I eat lunch together sometimes if it works out for our schedules. Sometimes she'll come up here with me when I go for a run. She'll go for a walk up here. She used to run, but she hurt her knee. But she's, like I said, she's walking like crazy now. The other way I've been dealing with it is exercising. Starting in September or so, I started exercising pretty much every day. Fitbit showed that I think I went 2 months without missing a day, or I missed 1 day out of 2 months. And I eased off since then after a bad bike accident. And now I run pretty much every other day. I try to get up. There are a few running trails near me that I can go to, and a couple north of Susie, like 45 minutes from me, that are also awesome. I just don't usually make that drive. But it is really good for your mental health to have that escape, have some alone time, and stay fit. Just exercise is obviously healthy for you, but also that, to me, that time alone is really important. So due to COVID, social interactions have been extremely limited. Heather's a very social person and has a lot of friends around town and has not been able to see any of them for the most part. And we're getting there. We had our first vaccine shot 2 weeks ago, and so things are going to open up for us soon. But over the past year, it's been vitally important to have time together with other people for her, and that's been our son and me, and occasionally Susie, and her sister and dad also. They live about 30 minutes away, but they were also limited from being able to see her, to keep our circles a little bit tighter. So like I said, Heather can do most things by herself. I help her with some doctor appointments. I go to all her appointments with her to make sure she doesn't miss anything. One of her doctors speaks a little bit fast, so it's good to have somebody there who can remind the doctor to slow down and to kind of say stuff that makes more sense to Heather. We were married for 20 years, and we basically grew up as adults together. So we know each other well. I know how she thinks, she knows how I think. For people who, you hear people talk about being able to finish somebody's sentences. I have to do that for her sometimes. And I usually know how to do it without upsetting her. It can be annoying if I jump in too soon. As you can imagine, anybody talking over you when you're actually trying to make a point. So I'm learning how to do that better. We do get along really well. Even before she was diagnosed, we remained friends. We divorced a few years ago, or separated a few years ago, divorced another year and a half after that, and stayed social. Would go, we watch football games together, do stuff like that, go to movies together with our son, and tried to keep a little bit of that family feel, so our son didn't just feel like he was torn between two houses, and I think that was crucial. She met Susie even before she was diagnosed, so that helped. We were always open if we were dating somebody, and it made it easy. So one of the more common questions I get, especially from my good friends, is how's it going? And it's going like you'd expect. Heather is my ex-wife. I'm her ex-husband. She has dementia, and I have a girlfriend. We live in the same house. We get to see each other, but we got divorced for a reason. And we just decided after 20 years, or after 19 years, we were separated for a year before we got divorced. So after 19 years, we decided we were on different paths, had different goals for what we wanted to do. And we separated and then divorced. And now we're back together in the same house, even though we're not back together. And this is kind of a funny thing. I'll end on a positive note that like I said, we were married for 19 years, dated for a year and a half, not quite 2 years before we got married after we dated. And Heather loved going to the farm, but never worked at the farm. I don't think a single day, not a single hour, even 10 minutes. Since COVID hit and she was diagnosed, maybe the combination worked, she's been down there with me a handful of times. She's been on a few videos with me down there. And she helps me if I'm cutting logs. She'll help pick up logs that I cut. She's helped when we did the big bonfire, and she's done a number of other things. So it's kind of funny to me that after getting divorced, she finally starts working down there. And she's good at it, so it's been fun to have her around. It's been great for her to get outside and get some more exercise. And yeah, it's just good to have some more outside time. Anytime we can get out of the house is good, especially during the pandemic. But that's where we are right now. I wanted to share this. I know I rambled a lot, but it's a lot to cover, and it's a heavy topic. So if y'all have any questions, put them below. I'm sure I'll touch on this some more over the next few years as she progresses, and I move in with Susie in about a year and a half is when I'm supposed to move in with Susie. Once my son graduates from high school, Heather's going to move in with her sister, and then I'll give you all updates occasionally, just because it's part of our life. The situation is part of our life, and Heather, is the mother of my child, is always going to be in my life, and I think as her son's father, it's part of my responsibility to help take care of her, even if we're divorced. So I'll give some more updates. If y'all have questions, let me know. Anything pertaining to Alzheimer's, I'm still learning. If there are enough questions, I'll create another video. Otherwise, I'll probably just mention stuff in passing, but I want to give y'all a basis of understanding of why my ex-wife is in these videos sometimes. But that's the explanation. She has Alzheimer's, and she's doing great, but is not where she used to be. And we know it's a progressive disease, so every day we're kind of just waiting for the next step to happen. Things are moving slowly now, which is great, but everything could change at any given time. Thanks for watching, all. I appreciate it. All right, bye-bye.